Shalom Yasharala, this is your brother Dawada from GMS St. Petersburg, Florida, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachach Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. All right, so we're going to jump into this here lesson pretty much as a continuation on exposing Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, as far as being the devil and the things that he, the things he would wind up doing on the planet Earth. All right, we read about him in the scriptures and the things that the so-called devil, according to the characteristics of the devil in the scriptures, the wicked, we read about the characteristics of them. All right, but now we, as you look around in the world, you can see who exactly that is and that it lines up. It's just like a police description. If there's a crime being committed, somebody calls in and dispatch relays it out to the officer. Like, the subject is, let's say, they say like a black male wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans with a red baseball cap, and you riding around and you see a crowd of so-called white people, you know what I'm saying, with their shirts off, that none of those people fit the description, but then in that same crowd of all these so-called white people with their shirts off, you see one black male with a white t-shirt on, blue jeans and a red hat. Obviously, that's the person that you're looking for because they fit the description. All right. And that's exactly, with these scriptures, what we read in these scriptures is pretty much descriptions of different people, characteristics, and the things that they would do, and now the Spirit is revealing who these people are. So let's just get into the scriptures and we're going to, break down, a lot of these things. All right. We're going to start out here in the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means." All right. And that's real deep, by any means, because what is one of the major means that they've used, and which we're going to get into that in this here lesson, is what? This here church, religion, Jesus. All right. These are all the things that they've been using to deceive us. All right. One of the main major things that they use to deceive us is what? Jesus, the so-called white man. All right. So, and in all the stories they make up about him, again, these are just made up stories about him. All right. Like he was born on Christmas and things like that. That's not what's written about in the scriptures. All right. But nevertheless, it says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first." All right. Now let's touch on that falling away first. All right. When the Lord, Yahweh Shah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, all right, when he was actually on the scene, all right, walking around with the disciples and things like that, for the most part in that area, in like Jerusalem, right, in Israel, for the most part, the only people that was living over there was the southern kingdom, all right, the house of Judah. You had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right, now you might have had a couple of the northern kingdom people staying over there, but for the most part, like the scriptures say, they was already over here in America at that point in time. All right. But nevertheless, continuing on, well, going back to that. So when Yahushua was on the scene, we knew who we were. All right. Like Paul said, he was from the tribe of Benjamin, right? They knew who they were. They knew what tribes they was from and so on and so forth. All right. But in today's terms, all right, before, let's say if you're Israelite now, but before you knew you was an Israelite now, obviously you're probably just now waking up. All right. You didn't know that you was an Israelite. All right. So that would be that falling away. But now we're in the time frame where, for an example, all right, we was riding a bike, right? Riding a bike would represent us back in Jerusalem, knowing who we were. We were riding a straight line. Then all of a sudden we fell off that bike, all right, which would be that falling away. Psalms 83, come let us make the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. We didn't know who we were. We didn't know we were Israelites. All right. That's why Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 2, Ezekiel 3, and Ezekiel 37 talk about what? Raising up those dry bones, which are you Israelites. All right. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who was calling yourselves Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. You was calling yourself that at one point in time. You were Gentiles. All right. But because you fell away from the Commonwealth and from who you thought that who you were. All right. You fell away from being the Israelites. Well, from the knowledge of knowing that you was an Israelite, because you can't never really fall away from being an Israelite. All right. Just like a Mexican, right? If you were so-called Mexican and let's say your parents had kids in China, right? And they kept raising, more and more generations up in China. These people would think that they Chinese and whatever, whatnot. But at the end of the day, let's just speak in carnal terms. They would still be Mexican. All right. No matter where they born at, wherever, whatnot, they still Mexican. Just like when you have, let's say, some Chinese people come over to America, generation after generation, they was all born here in America. They still so-called Chinese people. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, this is the, you know, like I said, Ezekiel 2, 3, and 37 coming back, you know, the valley of the dry bones, we waking back up. So that was that falling away. We didn't know we were Israelites, and then now we coming back into that fold. All right. So it says, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, it says, let no man deceive you by any means. All right. Again, with that Christianity and all that different stuff, they took away our heritage and our knowledge of who we were. For that day shall not come. What day? The day of the Lord, you know, the times that we living in, you know, right now, you know, we had to lose who we were for what Ezekiel 2, 3, and 37 to take place. All right. For us to be raised back up. It says, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. All right. So we're about to go into who? The man of sin. We're about to reveal who this man of sin is, the son of perdition. All right. The one is that goes into destruction. All right. It says, now, these are the characteristics of this here person. All right. The son of perdition and the man of sin. All right. Now, to find out who this is. All right. Now, this isn't talking about, you know, you think about the devil is some kind of, more or less to say a spiritual being and whatever, whatnot. Well, in reality, there is a spiritual counterpart. Okay. There is a spiritual counterpart that's in heaven. But nevertheless, again, these, how do I say, these characters that we think about are not the so-called real characters, for lack of a better term, of who they are. All right. Just like I said about Jesus, right? Jesus is a character that was made up by the so-called white man. All right. That we think about and everything. You know, Jesus is all loving. He coming to save everybody. He was born on Christmas. All of this bullshit, where the Lord Yahushua, first of all, his name is Yahushua. He's not a so-called white man with stringy blonde hair and whatever, whatnot. All right. He's only coming back to save the elected, the house of Israel. All right. The chosen 144,000 and the 1/3. You can read about that in Revelation 7. Also Revelation 14. All right. These are the facts that's written about in the scriptures about that there person. All right. Same with this here devil. All right. So they come up with these things like, oh, the devil is, well, he was in heaven with God, then he rebelled against God. They had a fight in heaven. God kicked him out of heaven, and he took a third of the angels with him, and so on and so forth, you know. And briefly touching all of that, the fallen ones, the fallen angels, that's me, you, him, and her, the Israelites. All right. That's why we're in these states right now. That's what we're trying to be redeemed back into to that first estate. All right. Being the gods over the earth. But yet we the peasants of the earth right now. All right. We up under the base men. We in a fallen state right now. That's why the Lord say, look, we don't know how, roughly paraphrasing, it's like, we don't know how we're going to be, but when he comes back, we're going to be like him. And then in the twinkling of an eye, we're going to be changed. That's us being brought back up to our main state. All right. But nevertheless, the devil, first of all, like that spiritual being that you're thinking about would, you know, for lack of a better terms, basically is like an angel, right? You know how we would say the angels and the demons, they're the exact same thing. They just have different missions, right? But nevertheless, these beings, they don't go off. All right. Whatever the Most High tell them to do, that's what they do. All right. Now you can go back to the book of Job and start off, you know, from the first chapter, I believe 1 through 3, chapter 1 through 3, where you talk about, you know, the Most High and Satan having conversations. All right. The Most High give out the commandments and Satan go and do the dirty work. All right. But nevertheless, there are physical counterparts on this here planet Earth. All right. Just like how the Most High say, look, I'm going to raise up the children of Israel. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Well, the Most High's not coming down here waking people up and tapping you on your shoulder, telling you, hey, look, you an Israelite. He's using what? Men to do it. All right. He's using men to edify and to educate you and let you know all his secrets. All right. The Most High say, I do with nothing but reveal my secrets into the prophets, my service to prophets. All right. So the Most High is doing things on this here earth with his physical counterparts, hit the men of the Lord, the prophets. Same with Satan. You see what I'm saying? The devil himself. All right. Now, again, you have a physical counterpart of these these demons on the planet Earth, and that would be the so-called white man. He was created to be the wicked. All right. So it says, going back to verse 4, we here looking at, let me go back to the end of verse 3. It says, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So we're about to reveal who this here man is on earth, the physical counterpart on the planet Earth is. All right. This isn't some kind of spirit or whatever, whatnot. I mean, there's a spirit inside of these people, but you know, when people think about things like this, they be like, oh, you know, the Antichrist is going to come and it's going to be some kind of spiritual being. He ain't going to be no regular human being with like regular this. Nah, man. These are regular ass people that you see walking around this and that. These are the same ass people. All right. So going into verse 4 says, again, we're revealing these people. All right. Verse 4, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. All right. Now, who is actually doing these things? All right. What is there not a physical man on the planet Earth doing these things? Not just one individual, but a group, a nation of people doing these things. All right. It says who opposes. Let me just stop there. Who opposes all that is called God. Right. Let's just put it there. So what group of people is opposing, the Most High? Right now, let's put it to you this way. Right. You have these other nations, they heathens and stuff. They don't really have no God, right? Esau, he was going to be a reprobate to begin with. But nevertheless, in reality terms, all right, he had like you see Ishmael in them, the Arabs, right? Now, when you go into their actual family, right, they would have known about these things. Like Ishmael the fact that, he think about his religion and everything, this stuff is almost close to our stuff is because they getting almost the same knowledge, but it wasn't chosen for them, right? So you had Abraham. Abraham had two sons, Isaac. Salakia. Abraham had more than two sons, but nevertheless, his two sons that I'm speaking of is Ishmael, which would be the Arabs. And then you had Isaac. All right. Ishmael was older than Isaac. It was his firstborn son. Now, the blessing didn't go to Ishmael. All right. But still being in the same household, Ishmael would have known, the rules and regulations and the law that his father would have been talking about. All right. Same with, Esau. Now, Esau, Isaac had twins, right? Isaac had Jacob and Esau. Esau would have known what was going on from here and there from listening up. They didn't just raise up Jacob and just tell Jacob what to do and not Esau, all right? So they had they'd known some of these things, all right? But nevertheless, Esau wants to do what? Again, selling his birthright and the blessing. See, it was already presented to him, but what? He turned his back on that, all right? He was like, nah, I don't need that. I don't need God. I don't need this and that, all right? Now, the Most High wasn't dealing with him, but yet and still, he was still in the same household and everything like that. He knew what was going on, all right? But yet and still, he opposed the Most High. So it's not like that he was just completely oblivious that there was a power, all right? Because the Most High was working, how do I say, not to say in the Edomites line, but you know what I'm saying, with Isaac, you see what I'm saying? They knew what was going on, all right? But nevertheless, he's opposing the Most High, all right? These things he got going on now. Who is spreading out what? The Big Bang Theory, evolution, all these different things like that. There is no God. We evolved from apes and monkeys. The so-called white man is pushing these doctrines around the whole planet Earth. All right. When you go into history, some people will try to use this as a knock towards the Bible. They say, every civilization has a creation story. Every civilization has a flood story. Every civilization has some of the stories that's related to the Bible. Like, well, of course, every civilization is going to have a flood story. Like, go back to the Bible. The only people who made it through the flood was Ham, Shem, and Japheth with Noah. And through Ham, Shem, and Japheth, the whole earth was populated. So if those three men, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, was bearing children, Ham, Shem, and Japheth went through the flood, don't you think they would have passed it down to their children? All right, now, we come out of the line of Shem, but you still have Ham and Japheth. So the Hamites, the Africans, don't you think they would have a story of the flood? Because their eldest forefather, going back to Ham, actually lived through the flood. Same with Japheth. So wouldn't you think that Japhetic people would have a story of the flood too? Like, oh, see, y'all just copying these stories from everybody else. Like, nah, hell nah. We all experienced that shit. You see what I'm saying? Like 9/11 here in America, right? When 9/11 happened here in America, it was on all of our newspapers, on all of the TVs and everything else like that. Why? It happened here in America. It was American news. But don't you think that the other countries had that on their news as well too? All right. It was all over everybody else's news as well too. But it was like, oh, they just copying what was going on over there. No, we documented a news story that happened in the earth that we all are documenting down. It's the same thing. All right. Going back, it says, who opposes and exalt himself above all that is called God. Like I said, he put himself up above the Most High in everything that he does, creation and everything else like that. The Most High created all things, like what? The herbs of the earth, the fruits, the vegetables, the animals, the human beings on the earth, and he created all these things perfect. But what? And the earth itself, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the ordinance of the earth. But the so-called white man has to go around and changing all these things. GMOs, vaccinating human beings, and cloud seeding or chemtrail in the sky and blotting out the sun, all this bullshit that the so-called white man is doing. Who else is doing this? It's not none of these other nations. You don't see the Africans doing this. All right. You don't see the Chinese doing this. Well, the Chinese are polluting the air, but that's because of all the production that they're doing for the so-called white man. All right. It's all stemming back to him. All right. So it says, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worship. So that or that is worship. So at the highest extent of everything that is so-called worship, ooh and ah, it has to be the so-called white man. And if you ain't ooh and ah on him, then basically he's going to just shut you down. All right. If you got some kind of whatever kind of glory or whatever, oh, I did this on my own. Just look at it. Whenever you try to do something on your so-called own or whatever, whatnot, the so-called white man come in and take over that. Right. There's been plenty of so-called businesses and inventions that so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have come up with, but whose name was on the forefront of that? Who's being known for all these things? The so-called white man. All right. It says, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now we can go back to Job 9:24, where it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, the so-called white man. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not who and where, who and where is he? All right. Now, when you look at all the images and the paintings of the Lord and the saints here in America, is what? They all so-called white men. But when you go back to like Europe, Russia, and all the places where those images are originally at, all right, they also call black people. All right. So the so-called white man is covering himself up, but still yet in all the churches, all the imagery and all these different things, he paint himself as if he's the people of the Lord and as he's God, Yahweh Shai, and so on and so forth. You know, not just that, he's homeboy over here trying to tell you that, oh, in one sense there ain't no God, but then in the second sense he's trying to make himself to be as God. All right, with the RFID chip, the market, which is the mark of the beast, and trying to control everybody's how do you say, their minds and their thought patterns. All right, this is what all this predictive programming and like when you go to type in Google, YouTube, or whatever, whatnot, you put in one letter and all of a sudden it just start predicting your text and stuff like that. Come on, man. The Most High is the Most High is the one that knows all your thoughts and things like that. But Esau's trying to predict all your thoughts and stuff like that, trying to show himself as God. All right. Verse 5, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. All right. So this shouldn't be no marvel, this whole thing that we going into. All right. That, you know what I'm saying? You know, of course, for us growing up in the churches and bowing down to this damn white man, so-called white man, it would be a shocker unto us. But that's because why? We was brainwashed with this here Bible. All right. They didn't read the whole Bible to us and break it all down into us. All right. And plus our eyes wasn't open and the books wasn't open unto us at that point in time. But now they are. But it would be simple and easy for us to just read in the scriptures and see, you know, like when people see us on the highways and the byways and we have that picture of Jesus with the devil horns on him. You know what I'm saying? People look at that and be like, oh, you guys are wrong. How are you holding the Bible and saying Jesus is the devil? I'm like, well, if you was to actually read the Bible, all right, with the spirit of the Lord on you, you would see that in the Bible, they also tell you that the exact thing that we telling you about, that this man that you think of as Jesus is the devil, this imagery and all this. They would tell you in the Bible that they're going to set all this here stuff up and that you would be bowing down and worshiping the devil flat out. All right. And let me just continue on because we're going to get in there. All right. Verse 5, remember ye not when I was yet with you, I told you these things. All right. So it was already written and it was already told unto us this was going to happen. That's, you know, the whole argument with our people. Like, yo, man, you talking about y'all wrong because y'all putting devil horns on Jesus. Like, you ain't reading the Bible. All right. Verse 6. And now you know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in this time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. All right. See, at that time, the Edomites was in charge. All right. But there was an allotted time that they would be revealed. All right. Verse 8. And then that wicked shall be revealed, whom Yahweh shall. Now, let me go back. It says, verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of his way. And then it says, and then shall the wicked be revealed. So there's going to be a time frame. So back then, again, the Edomites, the devil was in charge already back then. But what? There had to be a time frame and things to take place. And we had to have it fallen away. All right. And all these different things like that to take place for what? These prophecies to take place. All right. Back in those times, if it would have been revealed who the devil was and we would have woke up at those points of times, first of all, we knew at this point in time, we still knew we was Israelites. All right. We wasn't around the northern kingdom at that point in time. All right. And again, at that point in time, shit, you didn't have computers. You didn't have the internet, none of that shit. You didn't have missiles. You see what I'm saying? None of that shit. So look at these other further prophecies. How can, you know, speaking on the internet, how can we, first of all, we knew who we were. So we had to fall away first. Then how is we going to be brought back up if it wasn't, you know, mainly a lot of the people now are being woke up through what? The internet. All right. How can Babylon the Great be destroyed in the lake of fire if there was no thermonuclear missiles created at that point in time? How can the so-called white man implement the mark of the beast if, you know, again, computers, internet, RFID chip, none of that technology was even created back in these times. All right. So again, you had to have a time frame to go by. This is why he wasn't revealed at that point in time. But yet we were still all around the so-called white man and devil the whole time. Like this motherfucker was there. But we just didn't know at this point in time because there was still prophecies that had to be fulfilled. All right. Verse 8. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. All right. And that's exactly what's going on right here, right now. Exactly what you're seeing. All right. For those of you who's watching this here video, this might be the first time you coming across the Israelite, this doctrine or anything like this, you know, or knowing who the devil is or whatever, whatnot. But what through this, it says, and then the wicked shall be revealed. Who's the wicked? The so-called white man, these Edomites. All right. They the devil. All right. With whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. With the spirit of his mouth. So the Lord himself is not coming down here and saying, look, the so-called white man is the devil. Hey, shaking you on your shoulder. Look, this is the devil. This is the devil. No, he's got his servants, which are the prophets out here on the highways and the byways. We go out, you know, most camps go out on Saturdays and things like that. You know, we go out on the highways and the byways on the weekends. All right. And then throughout the week, we put up these video epistles just like now. Throughout all the airways. Go on YouTube and just type in GMS. Basically all you gotta do is type in GMS. You know, there's a plethora of brothers, just brothers hitting them all day in, day out, 24 hours a day, revealing who this damn devil is. All right. So the Lord is you see these prophecies coming to pass right here in your face. The Lord is doing a major work right here, right now. All right. Even the fact that you listening to this here video, and even on this here video, the topic of this video is doing this exact thing. All right. Is revealing the so-called white man as the devil. All right. And consuming him by bringing forth these prophecies that's going to manifest into his downfall. All right. So it says, verse 8 again, then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan. All right. So again, so you have to make that distinction. Again, yes, there is like a spiritual demon in our minds in perspective. There is a spiritual demon, Satan, in heaven. Right. And again, you can read about that in the book of Job. Right. But nevertheless, there's also a physical counterpart on this here earth, just like how the Lord is doing a major work in the earth right now, bringing forth the destruction on Babylon, on America, destroying the rest of the world, bringing them their judgment. All right, waking up the Israelites. The Lord is working overtime right now. The Lord is putting in so much work right now, man. The Lord is destroying all of our adversaries over there, priming the so-called white man for his fall and stirring up all his shit, waking up the Israelites, bringing us back, saving us, cleaning us up and everything like that, bringing in the whole flood. The Lord is doing all of this, but yet and still, nobody has seen the sky crack open and the Lord descend down and start doing these things like this. How are these things being done? First and foremost, through the mouthpiece of his men. All right. His men are going out on the highways and the byways on these internet videos and putting forth these here words. All right. Some of the words that the men of the Lord are putting out are drawing in the elect. All right. Like the Lord say, my sheep hear my voice and they do follow. All right. But you're not hearing Yahweh's voice himself, like his actual accent, his actual tone of his voice. He's not actually speaking to you like that. He's speaking to you through his men. All right. That's how he's doing. You see what I'm saying? So the Lord is doing the work through a physical counterpart, being his men on the highways and the byways and the videos and things like that. All right. The same way the devil is doing the same thing through his physical counterpart, who is the so-called white man. All right. It says, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, with all deceivableness and of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And that's exactly what's going on now. Let me read verse 11. For this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. Like the scriptures say, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. Flee ye out of the midst of Babylon. Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her plagues. Yo, man, you want to keep clinging into this so-called white man and following after his ways, you're going to wind up dying right along with him. All right. Because why? He's lying and he deceiving everybody with all his unrighteousness. He got people caught in a trap bag. All right. But if you want to believe him, you're going to be cast over to him. All right. Let me just grab my next couple precepts. Got quite a bit. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 13. It says, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming, all right, that's the key word there, transforming themselves into apostles of Hamashiach, or Christ, right? Or like how you would say in modern days terms today, these so-called pastors, preachers, the men that's supposed to represent the Lord, right? So let's read that again. For such are false apostles, they're not the real ones. All right, deceitful workers, they're lying. They're bringing you a bunch of lies. Transforming, meaning they're changing themselves into something else. All right, they're not in their original state. They didn't put on a mask or whatever, whatnot. Transforming themselves into the apostles of Hamashiach, or if you're not familiar with that word, which means basically it's the same thing as Christ, all right, or the anointed one, all right. But it says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So just on face value, what how can you take that? You just think of that character, the devil, the pitchfork, red tail, whatever, whatnot. You see that character, you be like, okay, I know he the damn devil. He ain't coming to bring me no kind of good, right? But now all of a sudden, like in those cartoons where they got the little devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder, you can visually look at that and tell you which guy's giving you the good advice and which guy's giving you the bad advice based off of the visualization that you see in this cartoon drawing. The little red man you can relate that to the devil. That's the bad side. The little angel looking one, that's the good guy. You want to listen to him. That's the good guy, right? But nevertheless, if the so-called red man, the devil, right, then change his little outfit, now you got two so-called angels on the side. Now, you see this in these cartoons or whatever. Now you're trying to be like, well, which one is the right one? You see what I'm saying? Because they both look alike. They both so-called sound alike, but one of them got a bad intention for me, all right? Same thing in these churches, right? You go to these churches on face value, you think these people ain't gonna lie to you. They got the best bet for you. You know what I'm saying? They working for God and so on and so forth because it's the church. They come up with the Bible in their hand and so on and so forth. But yet, what are they really doing for you? All right. These are the same people with that same Bible and that same story that they came and took you into slavery and captivity with. All right. They didn't bring you no salvation with none of these things. All right. But yet and still, and they use it as a tool against you. All right. So let's read that again. And let's not get this confused, because this is a big argument that a lot of our people come up with. The so-called white man's book. The so-called white man used that book to enslave you and so on and so forth. Yes, they did use the Bible to so-called enslave us to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand the things that was going on in the reality of these certain things. All right. Now, they wouldn't allow us to read, and they would kill us if we was reading the Bible. So they was just reading it to us. All right. It's the same shit that's going on in your grandmama church to the same day. All right. How is it that they over there for 40, 50 years reading the same book that we're reading to you? All right. That's to your grandma for 40 years, and she don't know none of this stuff. But yet, within what? I think my channel might have been up for maybe a year, 2 years or something like that. In a year or 2 years that my channel's been up, there's way more edification and education and learning that's coming out of the same book and more things that you will learn than what you will learn in those churches. So you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they dressed up as they supposed to be the apostles of the Most High, but they really not. They over here, they basically agents of Satan. All right. So it says, verse 2 Corinthians 11:13, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Hamashiach. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So that's why when you see us with that picture of so-called Jesus with the devil horns, that's exactly what we're talking about, man. All right. Oh, y'all guys are going to hell for doing that. Well, no, man, you lack understanding of what's really written in these scriptures. The Bible itself tells you that this was going to come over our people and we will be worshiping the devil flat out. All right. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their work. Again, you go over to these pastors, these so-called apostles or whatever, whatnot, in these churches and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? They telling you, they having a Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner at church, where they serving up some ham, some pork, telling you that the laws is done away with. While they over there praying over they pork dinner in the church, praying in Jesus. You know what I'm saying? To bless their food while they over there eating pork, telling you that the law is done away with and that all, you can eat whatever you want to eat, whatever, whatnot. Yet the people they also celebrating their big grandmama who just got diabetes and stuff, like in the movie Soul Food, man. You, Jake, was watching that movie Soul Food. They over here crying over Big Mama dying, but they sitting at the table eating the same abominable foods that killed Big Mama. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is some bullshit. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, they go into these churches, Thanksgiving, which is mocking the how do you say, the genocide of the Northern Kingdom. All right. Christmas, which is a pagan holiday and things like that. Again, they in there eating pork, talking about the laws is done away with, but they passing around the offering plate, talking about something, it's lawful for you to pay tithes. You're supposed to pay tithes. See, look, we can show you right here. But the same book where they telling you that you're supposed to pay tithes is the same, it's part of the law. So how can you keep that law and not keep the other laws? You see what I'm saying? The laws are still there. Yahushua was, you see what I'm saying? He was promoting the laws, not tearing the laws down. All right. I quoted this earlier, but I'm gonna grab it again. Job chapter 9 verse 24 says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right. Now, if you look around, who's in control of the whole earth? In fact, let's just go into politics, right? When you watch the news and things like that, what one nation of people, all right, what one country, all right, and that same country has this, which is America, obviously, it was run by the so-called white man, these Edomites. They still in conglomeration with what? With the scriptures called the beast, which is NATO and the EU, basically. You know what I'm saying? But these are all Edomites as well, too. All right. But nevertheless, these Edomites is ruling the earth, right? That's the ones that's, putting sanctions on all these other nations. None of these other nations is able to put sanctions on America like that. All right. None of the other nations is like, you know what? We don't like Donald Trump being the president. We're going to assassinate him and put up our own president. But what? America's currently doing that in Venezuela right now with Juan Guaido. All right. And Nicolas Maduro. See what I'm saying? It says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the face of the judges thereof. All right. Now, look, when you look at the image of Jesus, you see what I'm saying? Go on YouTube or Google search, type up, I believe it's called the Black Madonna. Look up the Black Madonna. Now, when you go and look up the Black Madonna, you'll find out that that's the same image of what they call over here in America, the Virgin and Child. All right. Where you see that picture of Mary and who they so-called call baby Jesus, right? That little image that a lot of the Catholics worship. Over here in America, they worship a white image. But when you type in like the Black Madonna and you go over to Europe, Russia, the Vatican, where the Pope, you know what I'm saying, the head of the Catholic Church, they all bowing down to black images. All right. Showing you that these are, and look up the Russian icons. All right. These are all the original images from way back in those days. All right. Only over here in America do you have these so-called white images. All right. That image is only over here. Only Americans believe in so-called white people being in heaven. The rest of the world know that they all men of color. All right. It says, if not, where and who is he? All right. So from there, actually, let me go. This is the book of Maccabees, chapter 1. Well, I'm actually go to verse 1 real quick. It says, and it happened. All right, what happened? We just read in the book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24, that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. Now, First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. Right now, this is part of the Apocrypha, which was taken out of the Bible. All right. Now, just in case some of you don't know, because I just switched apps. I was reading out of an app called a Blue Letter Bible, which I just so happen to like that app a lot better than this app. But this is an app called the 1611 Bible, which if you look into a 1611 Bible, this is actually all the books that was in there. Now, they took out, and they actually added some extra books into here too as well. But once you get down here to like First Esdras through Second Maccabees, these are the books that was called the Apocrypha. These are the books that were between the New and the Old Testament. All right. Now, these are some of the reasons that they was taken out, because as soon as you read this, it links history right up, and there's no getting around it. This is how they said this is a fake book and this is all fairy tales and everything like that. But it's all history, man. You can go on Google and type in all these names and it's telling you the same story, the exact same story. In fact, in school, you learned about the same story. All right. So this is basically a history lesson. So going back to Job chapter 9 and 24 says, and the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. So Maccabees 1 and 1, and it happened. What happened? The earth was given into the hand of the wicked. Now let's read about it. First Maccabees 1 and 1, and it happened. After that, Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, has smitten Darius, the king of Persia and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. All right. So when you in school and you learn about Alexander the Great, or who they call Alexander the Great or Alexander the Greek, all right, this is who they talking about. All right. But this is a more in-depth history lesson about that, because if you really dig into Alexander, all right, you can type this in as well too to bring this up. Alexander the Greek. Go and look up who his father was. They would tell you it's Philip the Macedonian. All right. But nevertheless, these people were from Macedonia, just like today. They just like how they did in America. That's how they got Greece. All right. If you read through all of this is how they wound up taking Greece and becoming the first. Let me read that again. It says, and he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So Alexander wasn't the first to reign over Greece or the first ruler of Greece. All right. This is when they stole and took over Greece, and the so-called Edomites started reigning over there in Greece. All right. Because before that, there was so-called dark-skinned people ruling over there. All right. But it says, man, I don't know if I wanted to really get into all of this. let me just read a little bit more of this. Verse 2, it says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries, nations, and kings, and became tributaries unto him. After these things he fell sick and perceived he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom yet while he was alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, then died, but his servants bare ruled everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied on the earth. So going back into what the first verse, and it happened. What happened? The earth was given into the hand of the wicked. We just read how Alexander wound up taking over. He reigned. He conquered the whole known earth at that time within 12 years. All right, and then he wound up dying at a very young age. He split his kingdom into to his 4 generals. All right, and then that's when it said that and evils was multiplied. Let me read verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So these 4, and so did their sons after them. So after these 4, it goes from Alexander, the first so-called white man at that point in time to take over. All right. Then from him went to the 4 generals. From those 4 generals, they just kept passing it down to their sons and their sons and their sons and their sons all the way up until today's time. All right. Now, well, you did have a falling away for them, in the dark ages, but then they came back. All right. But as you go back and you look into like history, like they have a little girl who wound up tying all the presidents together that go back to pretty much one person. When you go back, all these people go back to one bloodline, and it's the same thing. All right. This is just a continuation of history. All right. So, and like I said, these are the reason they took these here books out, because you can literally type in these names and look up this here history. It's the same thing. All right. Then you can't, discount that the Bible is some fairy tale stories or whatnot. All right. And that's another thing that they did in the Bible. A lot of these places, they just changed the names of these places in the earth so you wouldn't be able to find them. Like, i.e. Persia. Persia was one of the last places to change their name. But Persia is what? Iran today. All right. So if you're looking around the earth for certain places like this, you wouldn't be able to find none of these a lot of these places. All right. Let me just jump down to verse 41 though. All right. It says, now this is one of the 4 kings that came from under Alexander. All right. This is First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So as you can see here, this ain't nothing new. The so-called white men back then started taking away our religion, more or less to say our religion, our culture, our heritage, and things like that. Going back to what we was reading, there had to be a falling away first. Again, we knew that we was Israelites at this point in time, but what? You starting to see let me read this again. First Maccabees 1 and 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws or his customs. So all the heathen agreed to the commandment of the king. It's talking about the other nations. Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificing to idols and profaned the Sabbath. All right. So we started converting over to them. All right. For the king had sent letters by the messengers into Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. All right. So they started stripping us of all of our heritage and our knowledge and understanding of our so-called, like today we would say, our religion, man. They took away our so-called religion from us. They took our God away from us, man. And these are the documented historical facts of it. All right. It says, verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swan's flesh and unclean beast. Even until this day today, that's like I was saying, in these churches, man, they'll go down, they might have a funeral, inside one of their churches, and be like, God is good. We want to lay to rest Miss Bertha Bernice Jenkins. She died of diabetes or whatnot. But after this his service, we're going to go over down to Sister Johnson house, where she done cooked up some good pig feet, some hog mogs, and some chitlins. And we're going to eat that, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to mourn over the death of Sister Bernice Jenkins. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, what kind of shit is that, man? All right, we over here profaning our own souls, man. We over here becoming abominations, all right? We sacrificing swan's flesh. eating pork, all this type of stuff inside of church and things like that, man. And I noticed from a firsthand experience, man, growing up, you know, when I was a younger kid growing up, you know, just like most Jake, growing up living with your grandma and stuff like that for, you know, periods of time, and she go to church every Sunday. You see what I'm saying? Or in my household, shit, we went to church every damn day of the week. Except for one day of the week, we didn't go to church. It was one day we didn't go to church, but one other day we went to church twice a week. All right. But nevertheless, we went to damn church damn near every single day of the week. Right. But, nevertheless, and these same damn things, you know what I'm saying? They not, how do I say, keeping in mind, you know, with what's being spoke about in the scriptures, you know, they're far from these things. All right. But nevertheless, in these same damn churches, all right, they over here putting abomination upon not only themselves, but upon their children. All right. It says, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. And like I said, going to church every damn day of the week. You know what I'm saying? And another thing as a child, every day of the week, you know what I'm saying? Because of our financial issues, you know what I'm saying? It was real cheap to feed a bunch of kids on, you know, chicken and rice and stuff like that. So we ate like that pretty much every day of the week. You know, mostly every day of the week we was eating chicken. But when it came to Sunday, we had a pork product, whether it be pork chops, ham, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? We was having a so-called big expensive meal on Sunday. Why was that, man? Think about it. Where do we get all these things from? All right. When we was in slavery and stuff like that, think about your traditions and your meals and the foods that you come up with and you cook today. Right. Like when you look over at Chinese people and they eat Chinese food, you know what I'm saying? Certain people have certain foods they eat from their heritage. So-called black people don't have nothing like that. You talking about what, chitlins and stuff like this? These are all things we was given from the so-called white men on the plantations and stuff like that. All right. But nevertheless, continuing on, that they let me read that again. It says, verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. So this is the reason that they started doing this. For one, you know, what's this guy's name? There was this ex-KGB agent, you know, who exposed how to brainwash the nation. And what he says is take about 15 to 20 years to brainwash the nation. But what you do is you go in and you indoctrinate or brainwash the children that's growing up in schools, just like they're doing with the homosexuality today. If they try to brainwash all Americans to become homosexuals, that's a hard thing to do. The adults is going to start backfiring and how do you say, lashing back out. But if you raise up the kids from kindergarten on up to just learning homosexuality, and they accept it from the time they go to school to the time they graduate, to the time they go to college, to the time they get jobs, to the times that they start running things and being in control of things, they're going to be the ones that like, well, this is all we've known. We're going to keep teaching this to everybody else. No big deal. You see what I'm saying? So it's easy to brainwash the population, targeting the children first. All right. And so what? That's exactly what they started doing back in these days. All right. It's the same tactics and the same things that they've been using from way back in those days. All right. That they use it even into the same day today. All right. It says, verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So if you didn't want to partake into following after their customs and all these things and turning away from the Bible and actual the scriptures and the things that was written in the laws, all right, you was to be what? Put to death. All right. It says, in the self same manner, he wrote to the whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to what everyone forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land. All right. And drove the Israelites into secret places and wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now, in the 15th day in the month of Shalu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and built idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense in the doors of the houses of the streets. All right. So again, they basically just went up into our so-called church and temples and things like that, and just pretty much let me give you a better analogy, because it wasn't just that they just went up into one temple or one this and one that and they changed up just that one. It was more than just that, man. All right. Just like in today's churches and stuff like that, they got, you know, the Bible, which we read out the same book that they read out of. But nevertheless, they didn't took all of that and hijacked it all and gave you a whole bunch of bullshit. Oh, Jesus is his name. He's a so-called white man with blue eyes and stringy hair. But wait a minute. Revelation say that he had hair like wool, white as snow. All right. And his skin was the color of brass as if it was burning fire. All right. And when you go back to the 1611, the letter J, or history itself, the letter J wasn't around to about, what, 400 or 500 years ago. So his name couldn't have been Jesus. All right. So what is all this that y'all talking about? Where's all this that y'all coming up with? All right. But as we read here in our history inside the Bible, it tells you this exact dilemma and this exact problem that we're dealing with right here, right now, today. What happened? The devil would come out of his little pits. All right. And take over, especially the Israelites, not only the Israelites, but the whole earth. But he would mainly have the Israelites bowing down and worshiping him as if he was God. All right. The damn devil would do this. All right. It says, now this, again, this ain't no in heaven, God and the devil is fighting and the devil want people to worship him, so on and so on. This shit is being played out here on earth. All right. We walking around living this shit every day. All right. You go inside of any of these damn churches with your own people in there and you try to tell them that damn white man that they bowing down to and praying is the fucking devil, man. All right. And excuse my cursing and my language and things like that. But you got to understand how deep this is, man. Like my grandma to this day, I love my grandma and everything like that. But the shit that she be going through, the oppression she be going through, and the faith and the stuff that she got in that so-called white man, which is the damn devil, she go down on her knees and she be praying to that damn white man. All right. Not even knowing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? She can't even really, she got a zeal, and a passion towards the Most High, but not of real knowledge. She don't even realize, you know what I'm saying? But damn, that's some fucked up shit. That's how bad our people have been destroyed. All right. It says, verse 55, and burnt incense at the doors of the house in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the book of the law, which they found, they burnt it with fire. And whosoever was found with the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was they should be put to death. So first of all, they was, you know, if you wanted to keep the law, statutes, commandments, and these things, your ass was getting put to death. All right. And if you was found with the, first of all, they was going door to door, finding people with Bibles or scriptures, tearing them up, burning them up with fire, and then putting their ass to death. All right. Let me just continue on, because they did more than that. Thus they did by the authority unto the Israelites every month, as it were, as Salakia. Thus they did by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now you got to think about this shit, man. You got one group or one race of people, these Edomites, doing this to a whole nother group of people who are you, the Israelites. All right. And this is the same shit going on today. Why ain't they pushing this religion on everybody else? All right. Why everybody else can have their own religion or their own little gods or whatever else, but they keep fucking with us over this. All right. Because there's a connection between us and our power. And they know if they can cut us off from our power, then they can do whatever they want to do to us. All right. But it says, where was I at? Verse 58. Thus they did by the authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many were found in the city. Now in the 25th and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice unto the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that caused their children to be circumcised, just like they was doing back when what's your boy named Moses was born. All right, they was doing the same shit then too. All right, but then you had some women like Moses' mother who was like, man, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take my child, put him down in the river, so I ain't got to put him to death. We're not gonna take heed to what the so-called Pharaoh at that time was saying about putting us to death. All right, we gonna, you know, hey, we're gonna have faith and have hope in this here child. All right, but same thing they doing in these times, or in the times written here in the Maccabees. All right, so they was putting these people. Let me read this all the way through. It says, verse 60, and at the time, according to the commandment, they put certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. Slakia, and at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be uncircumcised, and they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled the house, and slew them that had circumcised them. All right. Let me just finish it out. However, howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves that they would not eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, that they might not profane the holy covenant, So then they died, and there was very great wrath upon Israel. All right. You can also read about the story about the 7 brothers, man, who was put to death basically for not eating pork. All right. And that's a sad story too. You know, Lord willing, one day I'll go through that as well too, man. But nevertheless, you see how they was converting us religiously, all right, and then they was putting us to death over these things, all right. So you see Antiochus, like I was saying, and it happened. What, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. We just read the account of all these different things going on and how they came in and hijacked so-called church and religion, you know, for lack of a better terms, hijacked the church and the religion from us and brainwashed us with their madness, all right, and got us worshiping the devil, all right? So keeping in mind, Job chapter 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, who and where is he? All right. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. He covered it all up. He hijacked it. He didn't put a mask on it. All right. We just read the historical account about it right here. All right. Now let's go over to First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. Oh, it says, and laid open the book of the law. Hold on. I don't know how to get that off. It says, and laid open the book of the law, which is the Bible, wherein the heathen, which are these Edomites, which we were just reading about, had sought to paint the likeness of their images. All right. So they did what? They went inside the scriptures and then they rewrote the scriptures and put it into their own imagery. Oh, Jesus. Like they tell us today. You know what I'm saying? They do the same shit today. You can't find nowhere in the Bible where it says Jesus was born on Christmas. You see what I'm saying? Or none of this stuff that they got going on in there that they tell you about him. All right. But nevertheless, like I was saying, look up Russian icons. Look up the Black Madonna. All right. And look up the Virgin and Child picture. And you try to tell me why all the images outside of America all are so-called dark-skinned black people being portrayed in these images. The ones that go back thousands and thousands of years. But the ones that came out in the Renaissance period. All right. The rebirth of these so-called white people period. Why, when those things came out, Michelangelo and Da Vinci came out, whatever, whatnot, painting these images as so-called white people. All right, that's the damn devil. And what? It says it right here, First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. All right, so what? The Bible tells you that the so-called white man will be doing these things. All right, the so-called white man will set up his own image and have you worshiping him inside these churches. All right, so when you see those devil horns on the Jesus image and all that, that's the damn devil, man. The so-called white man put himself up as the damn devil and make you bow down and worship him. All right. I'm gonna grab a couple more. I'm gonna close out. I'll come back with another part. Oh yeah. Ezekiel 36. All right. This is Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 1 and 2. It says, also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are in our possession. All right. Therefore prophesy, thus saith Yahweh power, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. Ye are taken up in the lips of the talkers and infamy of people. All right. So what's going on here? All right. Go back to verse 2. It says, thus saith Yahweh power, because the enemy have said, who's the enemy? The so-called white man, Esau, Edom. Aha, even the ancient high places are in our possession. So who's ruling and reigning over the high places? Let me read verse 5. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh power, surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the heathen. All right. So all these different heathen, all these other nations, he's speaking against them. They all condemned for this because they didn't touch the apple of the Most High's eye. All right. And against all Idumea. Now, Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom. All right. And which is weird to me. I don't know why they even got this word here. All right. They trying to lie and come up, not to say lie, but they trying to come up with some extra shit because they would, as you see here, they're writing Hebrew, right? This is Hebrew writing in the Old Testament. All right. Now let's go into Idumea. Oh, Salaki, I didn't pass it. Hey, and against all Idumea, they even say it right here, Edom. All right. Edom, red, Edomite, Idumean, descendants of Esau, Edom, same thing. It's the same deal. All right. It says, Ezekiel 36 and 5, therefore thus saith Yahweh power, surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful minds to cast it out as a prey. So what? The so-called white man, all right, is the one who is in what? The Most High's land, is in taking his possession. Let's go back. This is Ezekiel 35 and verse, let's say 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Verse 3, and say unto it, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee desolate. Now, I think in here they keep saying Mount Seir, but for edification's sake, all right, here we go down here. I was gonna get into the definition, but we'll still get it for edification's sake. In case you don't know what Mount Seir is or who Mount Seir is, it's pretty much like saying, Mount Zion for Israel. You know, that's just another name for Israel. Mount Zion, Israel, right? Mount Seir, all right, is another name right here. It says Seir, hairy or shaggy. The patriarch of the Horites, which that's not going in there. It says the inhabitants of Edom before the descendants of Edom, Esau, the Edomites, the land of Edom. All right, these are the Edomites. All right. It says Seir, a mountain of Idumea and its aboriginal occupants. All right, so the Edomites are Mount Seir. All right, just in case you don't know, it says, as thou, oh, well, let's just go back up to the top. Oh, let's go down here. As thou did rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all of Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. So Mount Seir and Idumea and Edom, Esau, these are all the same people, the so-called white man. All right, so now let me just jump down to verse 10, I think. Yep. It says, this is still talking to the so-called white man. It says, because, Ezekiel 35:10, it says, because thou hast said these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. All right, now what two countries and what two lands? We was over in the land of Israel, that's our land mass, and now who's over there? Like we just read in Ezekiel 36. All right, the Edomites had said that the ancient high places are in their possession. All right, the so-called Native Americans and the Latinos was over here in the Americas before the so-called white man came over here. All right, they was the only people that was dwelling over here. Nobody dwelt over here before them. All right, this was another landmass, but who's ruling all of this over here now? It's the so-called white man. All right, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close out with this here lesson. I'll come back with another part, you know what I'm saying, in another edition. We can go on days for days on this. All right, but I'm gonna just go ahead and close out with that one. Until next time, I say call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say stay strong and shalom.